So, for the first vid of the evening, with my dog snoring away in the background, this from Grip Media, and they're talking about RTE, the state broadcaster, yeah, and an awful lot of pentagrams in that, and so few people they don't realise the mockery on steroids, because this is absolutely, excuse the pun, ball deep in occultism. So anyway, under fair use, let's see how I go with this, because it is Grip Media, and I do find that, they talk some sense, but they never, they're never really talking about the real issues. Like, they're just pointing out, oh, look what they're doing now, and oh, look what they're doing now, and the public's not going to be happy with that. But, they're never actually pointing out the causation. They're not talking about Freemasonry, Star, all the rest of it, connected networks. No. Let's just point out these puppets. But I'll still recommend the link in the pinned comment.
The Read with Pride Guide 2026, which was put together by Children's Books Ireland, and this guide includes an extremely controversial book called What's the Tea, by a particular author, which includes very graphic guides for how to participate in anal sex and using lubricant, cleaning oneself out.
And by the way, that's going on in Scottish schools, right? Seriously, that's going on in Scottish schools, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'll leave you a link to I might even call this video a shout out to the Scottish Family Party. Whether they'll appreciate that or not, I don't know. But, I don't agree with them in their entirety, far from it. But they've done some great vids about, LGBT, X, Y, and Z in schools and various other things, and they've been doing it for a good few years now. They were luckier than me. They didn't lose their channel, or channels. But I would absolutely recommend them. And I would give you an example. Let me think. This was 8 years ago, and it's LGBT indoctrination in schools. LGBT indoctrination in schools endorsed by MSPs of all parties. And the debate on the Thai campaign. This was 8 years ago, seriously. But yeah, honestly, spend a wee bit of time on their playlist. Certainly, indoctrination, yeah, absolutely. Scottish education exposed LGBT issues. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, and there is Ross Greer 8 years ago, yeah, and what he comes out with. And here is Ross Greer, thanks to Resisting the Lies, I'll leave you a link to that as well, talking about conversion therapy ban. Yeah? So, when you look up the definition, right, and basically also known as reparative therapy, is a discredited pseudoscientific practice that attempts to change, suppress, or cure a person's sexual orientation or gender identity. Yeah, and they give examples, for example, like people from the churches, for example, pray the gay away, etc., right? But when you look at the LGBT plus indoctrination in schools from childhood in Scotland, and believe me, it is. Scotland is the first country in the world to embed LGBT plus inclusive education right throughout its curriculum. That includes nurseries. That absolutely includes nurseries. Yeah, seriously. How's this not grooming and indoctrination? A type of conversion therapy. After all, children, as I've said so many times, should be allowed to have their innocence, especially in childhood, for God's sake. The nursery, primary, secondary to an extent, a great extent, yeah? But they're being groomed right from nursery. I see them less as teachers and more as activists, masquerading as teachers. Nobody in their right mind would be teaching this kind of stuff to the most innocent of us. Yeah? But let's get back to Grip Media. They're literally they're asking the question as journalists to the individual in charge of Irish children's education. Think about this. Seriously.
Week, RTE published an article in which they were urging people to engage with the Read with Pride Guide 2026, which was put together by Children's Books Ireland. And this guide includes an extremely
pentagrams galore
controversial book called What's the Tea by a particular author, which includes very graphic guides for how to participate in anal sex and using lubricant, cleaning oneself out, all of this sort of extremely what you would have thought as adult content.
I mean, when is it going to happen at some stage at Shag the Teacher? Lineups with somebody in education who's the sex teacher. Honestly, seriously. And it's perversion on steroids. I mean, my God. How did humanity survive for thousands of years up until now? I mean, early Gen X here. Somehow I worked it out. We were taught the basics, here's what males look like, female, blah, blah, blah. But it was, pretty basic and for good reasons. We worked out the rest, Seriously. We didn't need a bunch of devious adults foisting upon our innocent selves things like, what they want out of life. Seriously.
But it explicitly says that it's
non-fiction age 15 plus. Yeah?
aimed at 15-year-olds within the guide. Do you think that's appropriate for the state broadcaster and for Children's Books Ireland to do that?
Well, I would have to say to you, I do not know that book. I'm not familiar with it.
Well, I'm really sorry, Minister. Yeah. I actually
and you have to hand it to this guy. I'll say fair play on this. He literally says to her something along the lines of, right, well, if you haven't read it, I get it, blah, blah, blah. But the next time we're doing this and I ask you about it, yeah, honestly. Yeah. The minister, the children's minister, seriously. Another one that, I mean, I'm not being harsh here, but she looks like the lead singer out of, well, actually, I could think of a few Scottish bands, actually. But anyway, let's carry on.
Your office and the department press office about this ahead of time to say that I would be asking about this particular issue. So,
and I'll have to give you the same answer. Like, I just arrived here this morning, just in the last 15 minutes from Kerry to be here. So I don't know the book, and that's an honest answer. What I will say that in general, any kind of reading for a young person under 18, I believe there should be parental supervision on it.
I mean, that's crafty, absolutely. Who could disagree with that? But when you think about it,
parents should be involved. Parents should very much so be to the fore.
So let's say that's the truth, and that's what she believes, right? Okay, so if parents went into their schools and, for example, they say, I didn't want my child ever reading books like that, they're okay with this? Is that what it is? Or is the actual, we'll need to involve social work because, it's the parents that are the problem. Honestly, Scottish Family Party have covered a lot of it in the past, and for good reason, and fair play to them, yeah? Meanwhile, in Scotland...
This week marks the start of Pride Month. Pride isn't just a celebration of our LGBTQ...
Now, isn't he gay or something? Is he? Apparently, I think he is, right? Who cares? But, when you're literally more about activism and, your lifestyle sort of projecting on others, especially the most innocent of us, who wouldn't even be thinking anything about any of that.
Community, it's a protest, and it's clear why protest is still needed. A decade ago, the UK consistently came top of the list for LGBTQ rights in Europe.
I mean, remember, just based on this tiny fucking minority of individuals, shall we say, that nursery school age children in Scotland have to have some kind of indoctrination about this. Oh, we'll not talk about the bum stuff and all the rest of it to nurseries. Not at the moment, but, we'll keep telling them, you may identify as a wee boy, but look, hey, do you not want to be part of the cool kids? Have you not watched the propaganda all over the bloody wall at primary school, nursery school, onwards? And yet, there they are masquerading as the righteous, talking about, well, if anybody tries to pray the gay out of them, And what, another thing I'd said ages ago, because I said, look, if you're an adult and you want to go and, pretend you're the opposite sex and do whatever else and essentially be a drag queen during the day as well as whatever at night, blah, blah, blah. If you want to identify as what, and cut your bits off. I mean, it all ties into eugenics, population reduction, and everything to do with the destruction of core family values. And they keep bleating about, oh, the West is in decline. Because these bastards are literally destroying family life and indoctrinating the most innocent of us from fucking primary school. I don't think that the Scottish Family Party will be sharing this video, but I still recommend them.
Today we've fallen to 22nd place. That's primarily the result of the vicious wave of transphobia that's been unleashed in recent years. But the attacks on our whole community are escalating. One of the many shameful stains on the UK's record is the failure to ban the form of torture known as conviction.
The form of torture. Think about this. I would argue if you're going to describe, for example, pray the gay as a form of torture, then surely to God, having an ideology exposed to the most innocent of us must be, and if you're taught that in relation to torture, imagine you're an innocent tiny wee child wanting to learn about life. I'm talking about books and, none about sexuality or what, no. The innocence of childhood. But because of these bitter adults with an inclination, for example, that not the majority share, to have them indoctrinated into this. Honestly, Scottish Family Party had vids where they're quite literally asking, John Swinney, do you realise, are you aware that they're teaching 14-year-olds about sodomy using Nutella and a banana? Meanwhile, just...
Conversion therapy. The First Minister promised a ban on so-called conversion therapy in Scotland within a year of the election.
And I also, remember, if I haven't said it before in this vid, because I have had a couple of attempts at this, if anybody just tried to sit their son or daughter down and said, before you go and get your bits cut off as a 16-year-old, or, you're looking in America, it's appalling the age that this is happening. And there's been a few in the UK where they've literally turned, 16? And previous, younger than that, they've literally given them hormones of the opposite sex. I mean, none of this is good. All that's apparently great, but just sitting somebody down, think about this, because it's what it's really all about, and just saying, hey, listen, have you thought this through? It's a life-changing. No, that's conversion therapy. That's exactly. Oh no, that's a hate crime. That's torture. Imagine it. Taking common sense out of the equation of just sitting somebody down and saying, as opposed to, hey, what's been going on in your life? But hey, that's conversion therapy as well. Think about it. Sitting somebody down and just saying, hey, what's been going on in your life? How do you feel about things? Blah, blah, blah. What made you feel that you wanted to be doing this? Have you thought it through? Have you thought about a few other things? And then maybe come back to that. Blah, blah, blah. Like society used to say for time immemorial when people had ideas that older people knew, hey, that's going to have consequences.
The UK government failed to bring forward its own bill. As it stands, Labour have repeatedly promised to bring forward that bill, but failed to do so. So will the First Minister take this opportunity during Pride Month to confirm that he will fulfil his...
A month of this nonsense every fucking year. How is that not conversion therapy? A type of programming, a type of grooming. You know, honestly, when you see the stuff, and they're telling this to the most innocent, and you've got little groups, little networks, you know, the social work's been involved. You know, they've networked with families that have specific issues, all the rest of it. Nurtured trans children within trans mothers in Scotland, all the rest of it. Absolutely encouraging and giving them more money. So they're up for it. They've profiled them beyond belief. Yeah. There is no end to where this goes. No end. But so few people see the network. We've got activists right throughout the education system, right throughout what goes as social work, right throughout, you know, certainly the politicians, certainly the judiciary, certainly the police, certainly the NHS. Most people aren't working out there's a bloody lot of these people. That's why when people go, how the hell are they managing to... Because they're devoted to this. An interconnected shit show of various networks. That's him talking just now. And then, of course, I really don't see Swinney. I really don't see Swinney being around, certainly as the First Minister, for that much longer. But that'll be part maybe the next vid. But there he is, backing up his fellow, you know. Can remember, they're supposed to be opposition parties, but nah.
First Minister. First of all, Presenter, so let me associate myself with the substance of Mr. Greer's comments about his concern.
Is this guy ever got another fucking tie recently than the colour purple? Than this, you know, obligation. Look at the churches, you know, the various occult aspects and, you know, the significance. But, you know, anyway, not just... Oh.
About the erosion of...
the erosion... Oh, what, of family life? Of, you know, what has made us so successful as Western nations? No.
The position of the LGBTQ community.
Even the LGB, I mean, you know, I've met plenty, you know, people, you know, what is that, lesbian, bisexual and gay. Characters I've met right throughout my life, blah, 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 couldn't care, right? Some great intelligence, huge humour, all the rest of it. But back then they weren't doing all that political pish. I mean, you know, if you knew anybody in television, it was a good chance or certain, you know, whatever. So, yeah, in places like Edinburgh, nobody was giving a, you know, well, okay. Nobody was giving it to us. It's maybe not the right wording, but, you know, nobody cared. But... the last 3 decades. Oh, what has happened? Remember, everybody, they've been told everybody's a victim, and we need to project this victimhood onto my youngest and most innocent of us to groom them right throughout childhood, through their education, you know, all the rest of it. Not to be bright, smart, articulate, and highly skilled, been able to do many things. No, to think the right way and to pursue a lifestyle that will have absolutely little chance of them having families.
Express my solidarity.
Seriously, honestly, I'll leave you at this as well. Think about this. Whoa, 8 years ago.
Children that the teachings of the mainstream Christian churches are wrong. The problem isn't children who believe that heterosexual marriage is the only context for sexual relations. The problem...
It's yet again the pursuit to do what thou wilt. Crowley, you know, all the rest of it. Philema, OTO, blah, blah, blah.
Those kids with a nasty streak will just take pleasure in having a go at people. And that's the issue that needs dealing with. And that's been used as a pretext to promote a wider philosophy of sexuality and gender to all school children.
And all young people should learn about the variety and the validity of all relationships.
Seriously, remember, this is children, for fuck's sake. Now, what they should be doing, what we did in childhood, mathematics, various thing, painting, blah, 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 showing, dexterity, whatever, various skills, egg and spoon, tennis, rugby, football, gymnastics, geography, history, mathematics, science, blah, 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 English, various languages, all the rest of it, yeah? No.
That's how we tackle stigma and hatred. That's how we show that every young person that they're valued.
No, it isn't.
I absolutely agree with Richard on this one. Oh, yeah. But, this, honestly, as always, I could do a much better job. But remember, you've got 10% of society focused on a direction of travel that is not good for the rest of us, like based on an occult, perverse religion. And I'll speak to you soon.